What if Greninja was in Gen 2 OU? Now, I'm not the most experienced in Gen 2, but luckily, it doesn't matter. Greninja is one of those Pokemon that's so unbelievably broken for the tier that I don't even need a bit of experience to know that it would get banned. And that's definitely what I'm leaning towards. I'm leaning towards this thing 110% getting banned. Now, why is that? I guess I should give a brief summary of Gen 2. For those who don't know, it's completely ruled by Snorlax and Zapdos, and leftovers everywhere. This is before they introduced EVs and IVs, so everything has max EVs, there's max experience in everything, as you see here, leading to everything being bulky. Because of that, pretty much every single thing in the tier, the most optimal move is always things like Curse, Rest, because there's Sweep Talk in Gen 2. Sweep Talk works to where if you land on Rest, you basically heal yourself again. And everything has leftovers. But none of that sounds like Greninja's using it, now does it? And that's because it's not. That's because for some certain other reasons. For one, Spikes is a thing, but Spikes is actually pretty low in distribution. Like, if I were to look up Spikes right now, you will see that it's only just Cloyster and Fortress exactly. Because I would be surprised if someone was using Quillfish. But Spikes is just a pretty good move. In Gen 2, there's only one layer, which is unfortunate. But still, the first layer is usually the most important one. And Greninja here has a whopping 122 speed. That is crazy fast. Not only that, but that makes it faster than Zam, and the only thing that's slower than in practice is Jolteon. In other words, what I'm saying is Greninja here is de facto the best Spikes Pokemon in the entire game. Outspeeding everything and being able to just set Spikes on the field before anything. And as you just saw with Cloyster and Fortress, coincidentally, they're also the main Rapid Spin Pokemon, for what I understand. And guess what? Greninja annoys them in that front as well. Now granted, Cloyster does have Hidden Power Electric sometimes, but the issue with Hidden Power Electric is that it lowers your HP DVs by a lot. So like, let's just go of the Cloyster real quick. If we were to give it, like, don't give it anything, you'll see here, like, the stats are normal. But give it Hidden Power Electric, then suddenly the DVs go all the way down to 7. That's a bit of an issue. And speaking of Hidden Power, I don't have it here, but I'm sure that's also something Greninja could very easily take advantage of. Because Greninja doesn't care too much about bulk itself. So I wouldn't be surprised if Greninja also uses Hidden Power Electric specifically for Cloyster, since Cloyster is one of the few things with Rapid Spin. So if you kill Cloyster, your Spikes pretty much go uncontested. Now, another thing that Greninja doesn't do, that most Pokemon would usually do, is run leftovers. And the reason why Greninja doesn't have leftovers on the set is because this is before Knockoff. And before Knockoff, the best next thing you can do was Thief. Some Pokemon such as Jinx have Thief, because they're fast, so they can just take leftovers off something. And leftovers is such an important piece in Gen 2 that removing it from a Pokemon is huge, and drastically lowers their survivability. And again, Greninja being very fast is yet another big deal. It outspeeds Raikou, it outspeeds Zapdos. Taking leftovers from those two is insane, to the point where you don't even care that much if you are killed. Because most likely, you are setting up Spikes, and you're taking leftovers. What else do you need at that point? Because that alone just can contribute so much. Like, even if you don't get a chance to set up Spikes, just taking leftovers from Snorlax is huge. Taking it from anything is huge. And guess what? The things that normally run Thief, like, I'm pretty sure that's usually Jinx and Nidoking, those just lose to Greninja. Greninja completely walls Jinx because it's a water dark type. Let's talk about that for a second, shall we? Eurus is water, Eurus is ice, you're immune to psychic. Granted, those three resistances and immunity aren't as vital as they would be in Gen 1, where there's blizzards, amnesia slowbro, and psychics from everywhere. But still, those are very useful to have in Gen 2. And Greninja takes advantage of them fully. Every fast thing that runs Thief, you don't care about. Not only are you not running leftovers yourself, but you resist Dark. You don't care about Pursuit, and it's great. A little too great. Granted, it does have some weaknesses, like that bulk is not super great, especially for defense. But like, who really cares? Because you're already contributing something great. And along with that, with Stab Surf, you are a huge threat to all of the ground types in the tier. So Nidoking, let's say Steelix, especially Golem, are just, they're so terrified of you. And Ice Beam means even some of your counters and checks, you can just do a lot of damage to. For example, Zapdos. Stealing its leftovers is, I would argue, already more than enough to contribute to the team. But along with that, you can have it survive a Thunderbolt and then hit with a super effective Ice Beam. Suddenly Zapdos at half HP and then it's just suffering. It could be using Rest Talk, but even if it's using Rest Talk, at that point, the rest of your team can probably take care of it because leftovers is that important in Gen 2. Not only that, but in Gen 2, Thunder is actually decently common because since everything is already so bulky, not only do you appreciate the extra power, but since, you know, you're bulky, like I just said, you're gonna afford to miss a few Thunders here and there, which could be completely different with Greninja in the format. If Zapdos or Gengar miss a Thunder against Greninja, that could be huge, because they're not getting leftovers healing, because Greninja probably stole it already, and then with super effective Thief or Ice Beam, you could do serious damage to them. Now, would this thing be better than Snorlax? Absolutely not. I don't even think it would be better than Zapdos, and debatably not even Cloyster, but I don't think that matters. It doesn't need to be better than them, and doesn't need to have no counterplay. Greninja's just not healthy for the game, I would say. So I 100% believe it would be banned to Ubers. And in Ubers, it would be really great. Especially since a lot of the legendaries are Psychic, or there's Ho-Oh, which is a... Wait, isn't Ho-Oh the only one that isn't a Psychic type? Oh my gosh, I know nothing about Gen 2 Ubers, but like, I feel like I need to do that at some point, because that sounds like it would be really funny. Although, even there, it would not be better than Snorlax. Funny enough. So overall, a really great Pokemon. Now, I don't have as many replays as I normally do, and that's because, I'm just not super knowledgeable in the format, so I really don't know which replays I should be going over. So I just went over 11 that I thought would be pretty interesting, so let's just get that started. Starting off with the king himself, Gen 2 Snorlax. Now, stealing leftovers already makes this pretty good, but the fact that you can steal leftovers and then immediately set up a layer of spikes, meaning that even though Greninja is dead, it's already just, you can feel its impact throughout the game. Pretty cool. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure Taunt doesn't exist in Gen 2, but if it did, you might want to argue that's what you use for like a fourth move, since I would imagine with Greninja in the format, it probably just starts with 2 lead Greninja, and that does not sound fun whatsoever. Next up is Zapdos. Now for the replays, I just decided to use Thunderbolt, and for most of the replays, I'm probably just going to use Thunderbolt, because for me personally, it's actually really annoying having to, like, deal with, like, times where, like, there's crits or missing. So, I'm pretty sure if Thunderbolt did, how much was that? Like 80 something, I'm sure Thunder would kill. But I don't think it matters too much, because even if Greninja only gets a Thief, that's still taking its leftovers. And Zapdos potentially missing Thunder is huge. So I don't know. I'm still gonna call this a bad matchup because it's freaking Gen 2 Zapdos. But still, it's not unwinnable. Which is insane to say, given that it's a water type. A frail water type at that. And here's Cloyster. And as you can see there, you can see just how much the lowered HP DVs kind of holds you back, taking a good amount of damage from both Thief and Hidden Power. So Cloyster kind of just can't do much against Greninja here. It can't just go for Rapid Spin because Greninja beats it 1v1, meaning it probably has to go for Explosion. But if you go for Explosion, Greninja's probably going for Spikes, so yeah, it's just not a good combination. Alright, next up is Raikou. This is basically the exact same thing with Zapdos, except you're not weak to Ice, which means the matchup is completely unwinnable. But it's fine, because Spikes and Thief is more than enough to contribute to the match. Now, Gengar is interesting. Now, Thief 3-hit KOs, which is honestly pretty good. You kind of wish it was like Gen 1, where you had a great crit rate depending on your speed. But still, Thunderbolt, you're probably just losing. But if it's like, let's say, Thunder, if Gengar misses, you might be able to win. At the same time, though, I wonder if there's a Hidden Power that could be worth using against Gengar. Is Hidden Power Dark worth it? I'm not exactly sure what the DVs are. The only ones I know is Electric and Ice, and that's because the DVs for Hidden Power Electric, like I just looked up for this video, and Ice is when I did testing, and I'm pretty sure the DVs for Ice is just lowering attack a little bit, which honestly is not that bad of a trade at all. I don't know, are there any other Hidden Powers that are better? I'm also pretty sure Hidden Power Fighting's kind of bad because it lowers attack DVs. But that's besides the point. Here we have Tyranitar. Now, you're not quad weak to Surf, but still, with the leftovers that you're stealing from the T-Tar, you easily have the bulk to take this thing out, no problem. So Tyranitar is not a threat. Now, that could be different in Gen 3, when I eventually do Greninja in Gen 3, where you have, like, T-Tar with, like, Brick Break or something. But even then, it's still probably fine. This is the most annoying replay. Starmie versus Greninja. And that's because Starmie still runs Thunder Wave as it would if it was in Gen 1. Greninja can steal the leftovers. And Starmie it's just kind of annoying at this point. With Recover, it can keep healing off that Thief damage. But because of Greninja having leftovers, and because of it resisting Surf, being immune to Psychic, and not taking anything from Rapid Spin, Starmie just can't break Greninja whatsoever. I didn't even stick around to have this full replay. I just had Starmie surrender, and I definitely do think this is technically a great matchup for Greninja. I just can't see Starmie winning this unless, like, even with Abysmal Paralysis look, like, let's look at this for a second. The Rapid Spin does about 5%, Surf only 18%. Yeah, with leftovers healing, Greninja is like, I think no matter what, it just always wins. It just takes a painfully long time for you to stall out Recover power points. That does not sound fun. Next up is Executor. And Executor, unlike in Gen 1, has actual stab with Giga Drain. So you're probably never winning ever. But at the very least, you still can hit it super effectively with Thief and Ice Beam, and you can set up Spikes. So that's good enough. Also, I'm not going to put this as unwinnable, mostly because if you get a freeze or a crit with Ice Beam, you could win. But that's not the most likely thing in the world, so I wouldn't hold my breath on it. Next up is Skarmory. Now, Skarmory doesn't actually have Spikes in this generation. If it did, though, I would still argue Greninja is a better Spike setter. That could be different in Gen 3. But for here, you're mostly going for Curse and mostly going for Drill Peck, which, unfortunately, Surf this hits too hard for you to really set up in time. So that's unfortunate. I did not even bother with a Golem replay. You already know how that's going to end. So instead, I have Steelix. which it might as well just be just as bad. Unlike Golem, though, this is just a... I think you could potentially put this a could go either way, but that's only because of Explosion. And Explosion is absolutely a great trade to use against Greninja here. Now, the last replay I decided to make was Jinx, just to show just how good it is when Greninja fights against other Thief Pokemon. Because as you can see here, like, without Leftovers itself, Greninja can't really care that much about, you know, losing anything. But Jinx here it just can't hurt Greninja at all. Greninja can just do whatever it wants. Set up spikes, attack until it gets killed. It doesn't care about Ice Beam or Thief, and it's immune to Psychic. And even though it's already taken a lot of damage, because it's so unbelievably fast, unless the opponent has another Greninja of their own with super effective coverage and hidden power, Greninja can probably set up spikes or go for Thief on whenever you take out next. It is incredible just how good this thing is. So here's the tier list. There's a lot of other Pokemon I could have put on, but most of these I just really don't know about, so I figured just not to go over them. So though, I think the ones I have here are pretty accurate enough. Maybe Meganium could be different, and maybe, I didn't test it out, but I'm assuming Marowak is, I'm assuming even with the Thick Club, it's not enough to OHKO Greninja. Even if it is, like, Greninja could literally just... Oh, wait, no, never mind. Greninja can always just steal the Thick Club, making Marowak useless. Okay, yeah, here's the tier list. And, like, if you're knowledgeable on Gen 2, let me know what things I should put in the tier list, and what things should be worth going over. I do like the ones I have here, though, because it's just nice and even if some of these are borderline Pokemon and not OU. But that's it for now. I think I will do more Gen 2 videos in the future, but as I'm inexperienced with the format, I think the first ones either be... I think they'd be so bad that even I can handle it, or they need to be like Greninja here, that are super good, where even I can understand what they're supposed to do and how they function. But we'll figure that out for later. Until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.